You are now tuned in to DAR Sports Media, and we are on fire with the weekend wrestling. We are back, and we are graced with we are very fortunate to welcome a fucking legend in the game. He of the Black Guy Wrestling Podcast. He of newly minted author on the DAR Sports Medium site. Busting out amazing articles for us. Still doing his thing over on the Black Guy Wrestling Pod. Publishing poetry. He's a fucking man. Poetic Scotland joining us tonight, man. Thank you so much for jumping on in.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. First of all, thank you for having me on the team. I'm very excited about the journey that we're on. You know, you guys are two brothers that I truly appreciate and respect so much. So I'd like to do this with y'all, man. Like, if we can do these more regular, I'm 100% with it.
Hell yeah.
Fucking right.
Sure, man.
Did you,
yeah.
I know, I've been saying, I've been hitting, not just this. Me and you, bro, we got to get some MMA stuff going on. Did you watch UFC in Paris a little bit ago?
I just watched the clip of the main event and Benoit.
It's fucking crazy. He got his ass whooped in the first. His eyes swelled up. He came back out in the second. He won the second. Didn't get punched, and then they stopped it. I said, "What the fuck is going on out here with you guys?"
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I digress. Before we rant and rave on an MMA subject, we're here for the weekend wrestling. It has been hotly requested the last couple of weeks, so we're going to give y'all what you're looking for. And so we had to bring it back in grand fashion with the man, Poetic Scotland, helping carry us to a 5-star here. Speaking of 5 stars, one of the hottest topics of the week, something I was asked about. I said we'll do it right up front. Jey Uso taking the Intercontinental title off of Bronn Breakker this last weekend on Monday Night Raw. First things first, I want to say this guy. Now, I do not foresee it being possible for anyone to surpass Swerve as the Wrestler of the Year. I think it's going to be by a pretty fucking wide margin. The dude's been part of 2 stone cold 5-star classics in 1 year, and there's still some months left to go. That said, honorable mentions, when we talk about it, when we talk about the other people we like as Wrestler of the Year, I'm going to have to bring up Bronn Breakker because the dude, that's his second one. That's the second time. The match with Sammy on Monday Night Raw was fucking amazing. This match with Jey the other night was fucking amazing. And it was a perfect example. You guys who listen to the show regularly, you have heard me talk about how the true great false finishes. False finishes are not just kicking out of each other's finishing move over and over. Good false finishes are a kick out of a believable finishing sequence. A sequence in the end of a match, a few moves, something put together that looks like a plausible match finish. Not just a finishing move, but like a way a match would end. And that near fall at the end of that match before they went to the actual finish was fucking perfection. Was perfection. That it's how it's done. It's exactly what type of thing I'm talking about. Bronn Breakker, 2 classic matches. He's fucking guy's only 3 years out of fucking training. Incredible. I cannot say enough. As for the booking, why didn't he have a longer title reign? There was some discourse on Twitter. I got asked about it in some discords. So I'm here to and I said, you know what, this is a little bit more, I want to get into it a little bit more than I would be able to on Twitter or typing it all out. So I think the idea from the beginning was sooner than later, they wanted to put the belt on Jey. Because as you will recall, when Sammy's run first started and they did that crazy entrance in Montreal and he defended the belt, who did he match up with? Who did he meet up with, outside of the building? Right before the match. It was Jey Uso. So they were connecting Jey to that title, connecting Jey to that level of competition. I think, they had the idea right then. They didn't want Jey to beat Sammy for it because we all fucking love and respect Sammy. So they said, okay, in the meantime, we're going to give this guy Bronn a run, give him a title run, give him a title win, have him do an impressive victory over a guy who just beat Gunther. So, you protected Sammy's booking and then he loses to Bronn, which puts Bronn over. I think that was another way that they displayed that it was on the way to Jey the whole time, was the whole tournament setup and how it seemed from the beginning. They were kind of setting Jey up to be this guy. I think after WrestleMania, when Sammy won the belt, they said, hey, Jey Uso is extremely popular. He's extremely over. He moves merch. He's been here for fucking ever. He's been here for 15 years. Bronn still has 15 years yet to go. Let's give Bronn a big win. Let's have him have a title run. Let's have him be a little too arrogant in this title defense against one of our top, most popular baby faces. Give a fuck what you feel about Jey Uso and the amount of moves that he does. He's one of the most over baby faces in the entire industry. I said, let's give Bronn a run. Let's have him slip on a banana peel in this match. Let's get a singles belt on Jey Uso, a guy who's busted his ass in this company for 15 years and has never had a singles title run and is one of our most popular wrestlers. I understand the thought, like, wow, that was a short run for Bronn. What the fuck? But the way he lost the match matters, as well as the fact that, like, you know, are any of us really sitting here thinking that Bron Breakker's not going to be okay? Jey Uso's been there for 15 years. Bron Breakker still got another 15 years. He's going to come back out 2 weeks later and destroy 6 people in a row. And it's going to be like this never fucking happened. And Jey will be having his run with the Intercontinental title, being super popular, being a babyface in danger, defending that belt. So that is my take on it. Scotland, what do you think, man?
You know, Jey Uso would be the perfect new generation wrestler. And by new generation, I mean that era of the new generation. Like, he fits everything that, like, I think that crowd would absolutely love. Because, you know what I mean? Like, Jey, doesn't need to be this, like, 5-star work or whatever that means to some people. The things that he does, it gets people going. It gets the crowd absolutely rocking. You know what I mean? Like, he has the presentation of a main eventer, right? I'm at that point now. I think I said on the BGW pod last time, I don't think Jey Uso right now needs to even be inserted into the Bloodline storyline. Like, I like Jey Uso doing his own thing. I do think it was imperative that he did win the IC title. And like you saying, like, Bronn's fine. Bronn is not going to, if anything, Bronn came out of this even better, because I can see Bronn going through like this, like, rampage of just like destroying guys. Like you said, got too arrogant, you know what I mean, young man. If anything, like, they probably run it back in a few months. It's not the route I would go, but I wouldn't be mad if Bronn won the title from Jey Uso. But for as far as Jey goes, it was a solidified moment. I'm on the boat of that. I think people hate Jey Uso because the internet tells you to hate Jey Uso. You hear them crowds? Them crowds don't hate. Them crowds don't hate Jey Uso.
Everybody who paid money to go to the show don't hate him. So
you know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, like, Jey Uso is very much where he should be at. He absolutely has earned this title win. Think about it, 15 years in the company. It's even harder when, like, people lauded the Usos as just tag team guys. The fact that he broke away from his from the tag team, had the main event feud with Roman, now he's the Intercontinental Champion. He's earned this. So I'm happy for Jey.
I would love, you mentioned the bloodline thing. I would love for him to have this run throughout the rest of the year. Maybe they have another draft in January, February, and then who pops up on fucking Raw, much to his fucking shock. Oh shit, the bloodline, and they're coming for that belt. Other members of the family. Cool, you might, your brother might be done with you, but Jacob Fatu fucking isn't. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Or you can even do, like, if you even want to just test the temperature, like, you could have a spot in the Rumble where, like, say it's Jacob, Tama, and Tonga, and, like, say they're just throwing guys out left and right, and they have that great heel spot that I love where, like, the heel group is in the ring, and somebody comes out, and the person that comes out is Jey Uso. Like, it's little things, like, if you want the temperature to see where Jey is into the bloodline feud, that's a perfect way of doing it.
Greatest moment in Rumble history. $1 Million Man eliminating people in 1990. Jake the Snake Roberts
Jay
music
come out.
hits. Fucking buildings on fucking fire.
Look, if we ever talk about that show, I'm gonna go on like a 20-minute rant about like why they should have been doing theme songs during the Rumble back then.
I don't know how they could have seen what happened there and it didn't click then. It didn't click for another 6 years. How could you have seen what just happened and not start doing that?
Oh, the crowd going crazy? Turn the music off.
Well,
yeah, I don't understand. It's just an ultimate moment. And yeah, definitely. We got to break that show down sometime. Check it out. Another thing that I was going to say, I wish they would have stretched it out to like number 5. I wish he would have kept going. I wish the $1 Million Man would have kept going, like milked it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if they knew the effect it was going to have quite enough. True. Bronn and Jey.
It's funny. I was never a Bron Breakker fan up until his last few months in NXT. So like, I don't want to say I wasn't a fan. It just didn't really hit me like it hit everybody else. And then I started paying attention. I was like, man, this dude's nice, good, and I think he's got something from all aspects, from promo. I mean, he might need to stay out the tanning booth a little bit, but outside of that, I think he's a fairly talented. He's a really talented young. I had a call come in, so I had to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so no, he's really talented, and I am really excited to see where he goes next. I want to see him win the Rumble and go against Gunther. I don't know if that's too soon or not, but I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do John Cena versus Gunther at WrestleMania. If I had to guess right now, where everything's kind of trending, he's beating, Randy. He's about to beat Sammy and probably Punk at some point. So I could see that being a case. I think Braun's gonna be fine. As far as Jey Uso is concerned, I still think you can weave Jey Uso into this Bloodline storyline briefly for Survivor Series only, because I just don't see it being a thing where, like, who do you have? You get Kevin Owens and then you get Sammy, maybe you get Cody and Roman and everybody. Like, maybe that's the route they're gonna go for Survivor Series. I feel like that's kind of flat. Personally, I think it should be Bloodline 1 versus Bloodline 2. And I think they can do that and still weave it through with Jey being Intercontinental Champion. Sammy was just Intercontinental. Now, there's a way they're still, because that's still his dog. They still, they still ooses. And, I think we got about 6 to 8 weeks left till Survivor Series. I think maybe 8 weeks now.
Yeah.
So there's a way to do that and still, I mean, unless you're going to do United States champion versus Intercontinental, like they used to do with Survivor Series, with the world champions. I don't think they're doing that anymore. So
no,
I think there's a way. As far as Jey winning, I don't even like commenting on with the internet hating, because it's like 95% of the shit that gets said on the internet when you go to an actual event, none of that shit matters. Like, none of that shit matters. So it's just people watching at home tend to find ways to I don't like this, I don't like nah. Jey Uso, if I watch his matches might not always be the best, but he's always entertaining. And if you've ever been in a live crowd when he comes out, it is insane to watch and be a part of that whole, the yeet shit where the hands, everybody's just rocking. And I'm like, that's what you go to a live event for. You don't go to a live event to sit on your hands and just watch the shit. You go to participate. You go to be a part of it. We grew up in an era where it was, they used to bring a bunch of signs to the show. The crowd used to jump up and down. Just the sound of a glass breaking would make you go fucking insane. So I think that's what you want. And WWE has mastered, in my opinion, how to get your baby faces over, keep them over, and get the crowd kind of rocking every single time. Like, whether it's Jey Uso, whether it's Cody. I mean, obviously Roman is, as a babyface, is fucking blowing everything out the water damn near. You got Punk, you got Sammy. There's so many different baby faces, and Jey Uso is, to me, he's probably the most exciting of them all, in the sense of he's not the big bright star that Roman is, or that Cody is presented as, or that he doesn't carry the controversy of a Punk or somebody like that. He's kind of in the Sami Zayn realm where it's like almost a sympathetic baby face, because he couldn't win the big one. He kept getting all these world title shots. He couldn't do it, but it's like people never wavered. They never stopped rocking with him. And I mean, I like the Rhea Ripley thing is funny. His whole thing with Rhea is funny. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with Jey Uso winning an Intercontinental Championship. I don't know how long his run's going to be. I don't foresee it being a long run personally. I think it was just kind of give him a moment. And I think Jey said himself the belt that he wanted the most as a singles competitor wasn't the world title. It was the Intercontinental Championship. So
Yeah.
WWE is really big on giving people things that they want. I know Scotland had mentioned small segue. I think you mentioned something about Xavier Woods getting a single titles run, and it does seem like I personally don't think they're gonna do it. But that would tie into another topic that people were talking about in terms of wrestlers of a certain hue and in championships and their opportunities. So I don't think they're gonna do that, but I think
a freshly heel turned after he murdered his best friend Cody Kingston, Xavier Woods showing up on SmackDown after that draft idea I just had. If you're looking for a good way to wrap up the LA Knight run, not saying that it needs to be, but I'm saying like in 6 months or whatever, when you're ready to move him on, that would be a good idea, a good path, a good possibility if we're going there.
Xavier could take the belt from Jey Uso.
Yeah, true that.
I mean, you running back the New Day Uso, the classics that they have, and then with the intensity, a new intensity from Xavier Woods, like I don't think that's the route they're gonna go, but like the fan in me would be like, I would love to see that singles match.
I don't want the New Day to break up. I don't really want to I just don't want the New Day to break up. It just don't feel right. It just won't feel right. And but I guess I think Big E just said in 3 to 6 months there might be a window for him to possibly make a comeback, or maybe I don't know if that's the case.
My personal thing on it is Xavier's really never had a chance. He's been so good for so long. I think he should get to have a chance. But
I don't disagree. But
if Big E does so that's what you do, right? You get Xavier out, you let him have his run, and then you reunite them kind of in a similar play to, if it was me, I would have them look at and try to mimic when Bret Hart and Owen Hart patched things up. Remember that fucking promo? Remember the fucking tears? Remember them hugging? And then have Big E be part of the glue that brings the group back together for like the last run. But I would like to see Xavier get his a run. To tie things up on Jey Uso, I thought it was one of my favorite things I've ever seen on Twitter. Was somebody, I think he said it to Cam. I was giving a pause right there for you to jump in and say fuck Cam, but okay.
Oh no! I was gonna say that for the end of the show. I was gonna say that for the that's my last words. Fuck Cam. my last words.
They said about Jey Uso to Cam. They said that aura merchant Jey Uso, and I said I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know how to like fuck up your life view, but. Aura merchant is what pro wrestlers are. That's literally the job, is selling aura to get people to care about what you're doing. Literally, aura merchant is what the fucking job is. So I thought that was funny hearing them.
I hate that damn word. I hate that damn word. It's so overused.
Our other big show this week, there was 2 other big shows. One that came out on Netflix and one that happened on Scotland. Man, break it down for us. This Dynamite Grand Slam, the stadium. There was a lot of talk about, with the crowd and all that, and that's topic we've tread upon really good on here. But I'm gonna tell you, man, the stadium looked real fucking good. I thought it looked real fucking good. I think that they should switch. They should stop doing so many pay-per-views in there and make Grand Slam like that stadium. Move it to the weekend and make that the pay-per-view. That's what I would do. Talk to us. It actually fucking happened, man. Oh my God. Danielson and Nigel. I want to say too, it's more and more of the resume that we should all discuss about Danielson in the fucking GOAT conversation, like the overall GOAT conversation, because he has had two of the most legendary feuds, long-term feuds in both promotions ever. His feud with The Miz, which the WWE, I will never fucking forgive them for how much they fucked that up when Daniel Bryan got to come back. And his feud with Nigel McGuinness that covered 2 fucking promotions over a decade. Holy shit. Talk to us, man. Grand Slam, big crowd, great fucking ambiance. Motherfucker. Bryan Danielson, fucking Nigel McGuinness.
Let me tell you something, man. Like, it's very rare these days that I'll stand up for an entire match. Like, I was watching that shit like Bret Hart in '96, watching in the backstage, watching it like, like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you've followed BGW or me, like, have ever said Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, unified 2006. It's the greatest match of all time. It's the greatest match I've ever seen. So like for me, and I was 16 at that time, like that's just been a feud I've been emotionally invested in. Like I remember like begging my mom for the DVD at that time. You know what I mean? I'm like, what do I got to do to get that joint? And then I just followed it all throughout. The fact that the match happened is a very surreal situation, right? Because I'm pretty sure if you asked Nigel McGuinness, like, if he was ever going to return to the ring, it was just going to be hope, right? Like, maybe one day, but not on the grand scale that you probably want it to be on. The fact that you're in the number 2 promotion in the world, you're in Arthur Ashe Stadium, and you're getting to face your greatest rival in front of the audience that was watching, it was just like a perfect storm, man. And then on top of that, like, I think people had this notion like, yeah, it's not going to live up to the hype of like their old matches. That wasn't the point of this. Like the whole point of this was like, these are not the men of 2006. This is a guy this was his first singles match since 2011. And then you got Bryan, who's practically held together by prayers and love by his children, keeping him together, right? And they went out and told a beautiful story from bell to bell. The transitions, the intensity, right? Little bit of a slow start, but naturally you gotta feel the crowd, you gotta feel the moment. But then when they got into that groove and they hit into the second gear, it was everything perfect, man. Even just like the emotional aspect of Bryan having him in the submission and Nigel saying thank you before he tapped out. Like that's a key moment. And I truly do hope that this is the start of a second run for Nigel McGuinness. He has not looked out of place at all. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
You know what I mean? Like, he genuinely looks like he could rock maybe 2 more years. You know what I mean? And for Bryan, you know what I mean? Like, Bryan, when you talk about the GOAT, I would put Bryan top 3 in that conversation. Like, I'm you know me, I'm on the current quest of trying to figure out who the greatest wrestler of all time is. But when you look at, like you're saying, like the fact that Bryan has transitioned from the indies to WWE to AEW, everything he's done in between, you can't not say he's not in at least top 5, but in my opinion, top 3.
Absolutely true. Thoughts on this match and Grand Slam in general?
I'll be honest, I didn't get to see all of Grand Slam. I will say as a quick note, I'm anxious. I'm kind of anxious to see where this the continuation of the Mariah May Mina Tony Storm thing is, because there's another story kind of being told. Tony and Mina were just in Stardom together, and they seem like best friends, and there's a whole thing there. So I'm anxious to see where that goes. As far as Danielson and Nigel, I thought the match was for someone's first singles match in 13 years. I thought it was a damn good match. You know, I agree with Scotland, man. I think it needs to be another nice little run for Nigel. I think he still has something to bring to this business. I think he fits very well in the AEW system in terms of what he can do physically and just him in general. You know, he can talk too. He can talk his shit, and they need somebody who can just go out there and just talk their shit as well as go out there and perform. I will say, in terms of the GOAT conversation, I just want to point out, Nolo was saying that Bryan Danielson should have retired and went home about a month or so ago now. And he has, I mean, he put on one of the best fucking main events that I've seen in a long time with Swerve at All In. He went out there with Nigel, and you know, the whole thing was, can Danielson get cleared? Can he get cleared for this match to happen? And even with that caveat, you know, added to it, I think it just made it even more kind of exciting to see that Danielson himself, just like Nigel, they both still have so much left in the tank. Even though Danielson's being held together, like Scotland said, by prayer, it's insane that someone who has gone through as many injuries and as many issues as he has is having some of the best matches he's ever had at this point in his career. I'm excited to see what's next. I'll say I'm not really excited for what's happening at Wrestle Dream with Danielson. That's the one thing I will say. Did not like the whole concept of taking
Nothing
the title.
says new and fresh like fucking Mox in the AEW title scene.
So I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I'm actually looking forward to the match because I feel
well. You're right about that, because they are going to beat the shit out of each
that's
other.
what I'm getting from it.
That's gonna be a great match.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's just in Washington, Darby getting his like real first shot against
that would have been sick, man.
Somebody he like looked up to, and somebody who is the king of that state. I just thought it was just a perfect fit. And you could also kind of tease the whole possibility of Darby being the one taking him out and taking the belt and finally getting his win in his hometown. It just felt like I just don't like how the start and stop things with Darby happen, because I think Darby's one of their most consistent guys, and he's been a tried and true pioneer for AEW. Really, he's been involved in so many moments, and he shows up to work and does what he does. And I mean, the dude apparently that broke his foot or fucked his foot up and is still out there wrestling and still going to need to sit his ass down. But I just think the fact that he's doing it, I really wanted to see Danielson versus Darby. I just, I like those either first time matches or like we didn't really get to see them. You know what I mean? Like really go at it before. Like, because even with Danielson and Swerve, we saw them wrestle before, but not at the magnitude that All In gave us. So it felt like a fresh new matchup because of the way it was presented. And so I would have loved to see Darby get that. And the whole, I don't know, Mox's character a little too American History X for me a little bit. And so little Private Party didn't deserve what they got. And you know what I'm saying, I'm a rock with them always. So I felt like I just felt a little way about that, a little funny. But I've never been a huge Moxley guy. Like I like Moxley, but I guess the last few years he has not felt like what he does really doesn't pop to me. Even with the BCC thing, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed that because of Danielson and Claudio and and kind of watching Yuta, Wheeler Yuta come into his own a little bit. Not excited about that match like that. I think it'll be great, but this is like the third or fourth, fifth maybe match between them two. I don't maybe third, fourth, I don't know. On pay-per-view at that, or Grand Slam don't count as a pay-per-view, but they had a Grand Slam match, they had Revolution match. I just think with the amount of talent AEW has, I just want to see fresh matchups. But I guess you got to tell the story of the BCC breakup, and you gotta, they're gonna fuck each other up. That's great, but I really want to see Darby eventually get a damn shot because he won a shot to lose a shot. Like, you're a sucker. You went out like a sucker.
Let's not
Like,
even
Great loser.
fucking go there because we'll never get back. We'll never get back on the rails if I start talking about the fucking what was going on. What was Danielson getting cleared from? Getting a bag over his head? I think you can get cleared from that an hour after it fucking happened. Anyways, Scott, you sound like you had more thoughts about why you like this match.
Oh no! Well, I was gonna pivot off of what Dar said. I actually, I think for my biggest takeaway from the Mox Darby match is I definitely believe Darby is going to be the next world champion. Like you said, like I think the idea was it for it to happen at Wrestle Dream. I think plans probably a pivot. But I could see a scenario where like Darby maybe they run like a big Dynamite in Washington and it happens. Like Darby doesn't seem like he needs it at a pay-per-view. I think if anything, they need more traction on either Dynamite or Collision. Like they really haven't had a big shock win like that. So Darby winning on like Dynamite at the end of the year. Like if they do Washington at like winter is coming, that'd be perfect. That'd be dope. As far as the actual match of Mox and Daniel, like I am under the belief, in my opinion, in my heart of hearts, that the reason why this match is taking place at Wrestle Dream is I feel like that's going to be the debut of Shane McMahon.
As like a backer for this group, that's what they've been talking about. This brand isn't going the way it should. You guys are ruining it. We're going to be the I'm not hating that path of logic. I don't know how that's going to work out, but and it's fun because it's a segue into our next topic. One of the things that stood out to me about this Vince documentary, I haven't watched all of it. I'm in the middle of, I don't know if it's episode 4 or 5 where Owen Hart situation just happened, Mr. McMahon, and then they're talking about Sable coming back and the sexy stuff that was going on backstage. I can't. It was crazy watching because at the same time, so it was basically talking about Mr. McMahon and his family because that was the storyline. They were talking about Trish and the storyline where Trish was on Vince's side and Shane was on his mom's side, and they had and they were talking about Shane. It's fucking unbelievable to me that somehow, some way, I don't know if it's paralysis by analysis, they were just too much proximity to each other. It's insane to me that Shane didn't end up being the guy, man. Like, he literally fucking grew up in that company, did every job. He swept the ring when he was like 12 and then fucking did backstage work and did like everything top to bottom in the whole company, the whole way up in the backstage and the business side. And it's just nothing. It's wild to me.
As a psych guy, the documentary alludes to what the issue was in itself. And, the last thing I'm ever going to try to do is humanize Vince McMahon at all, because I don't think anything he's ever done. I think he's like a spawn of Satan personally, but it's just Vince had a dumb childhood, very dumb, and you see that. And I think one thing we don't talk about, and this goes a little bit out of wrestling, is that so many people who become destructive, abusive, and everything like that, their backgrounds and their childhoods are completely fucked up. And his is really no different. And when you add in money, power, and him being just a natural fucking weirdo and sicko and shit, it just creates this dynamic where he had this weird power over his daughter, which you can see in many instances very weird. And then with Shane, it was like my dad never gave me love like that. My dad never gave me anything. I had to buy my dad out. I had to undercut my dad. So if you're gonna do it, like Paul Heyman said, he gave him a knife and was like, "You want to get this idea? Stab me in the heart and over my dead body." Like, that's some insane shit to say to your son over a fucking idea. Shane told Vince to buy UFC at one point, and
oh yeah, I know that story. Yeah.
and he didn't want to do it. And well, I mean, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know how Vince would have really done with it, to be fair, but
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, is that Shane had a different vision than what Vince did, and where everybody else kind of fell in line and his ass kisses and yes men. I think Shane wanted to be able to be his own man and showcase his own thought process, and show that he could also put forth, the creative mind. The business is what he loved, the business is what he wanted. And I just also want to segue slightly away from that and just point out Tony Atlas was in this documentary telling everything. He was like, he did kind of, he's telling everything, but a lot of people, when the Pat Patterson passed away, people were like, "Oh man, they put those fake false allegations on Pat." No, the fuck they didn't. No, the fuck they didn't. There are plenty of people who have stories about Pat Patterson, the Brooklyn Brawler at one point, a couple other people that were involved in the WWF. They were doing this shit. Like, it wasn't, and like, I'm not saying it to trivialize what happened to all these women in there too, but like, there were also men that were getting very young
Children.
boys, people 16 people working with the rings and doing all the ring boys, and the little teenagers they would bring in to kind of like they want to train, and it's like, this business is such a sick business from top to bottom. The people in power in any business, any industry with power is involved, people utilize and abuse their power. And my takeaway from Vince's documentary is that his lack of self-awareness, his lack of therapy, for one, because he sorely needed fucking therapy and he never got it. It manifested that he's this dirty ass old man who still gets his rocks off on the dumbest, just the most just weird shit ever. Like, I don't know. I didn't read every text message that's in the lawsuit and every single detail, because after a while it got kind of disgusting and sick to me. And I was like, I don't even need to see any more of this, because I knew already what type of person he was. People been saying it for years, decades. But when Vince would come out and that No Chance in Hell would hit, the people would praise him when he came out and do the "we're not worthy" and bow to him. And you realize Vince McMahon has always been a piece of shit. He has always been that. He's always going to be that, because lepers don't change their spots. This man is in his fucking 70s going on 80s and shit. He's not going to change who he is. The same way we talk about Ric Flair. Ric Flair ain't changing who he is. Hulk Hogan ain't changing who he is. These people have been ingrained in this business. They represent a very, very long-standing mindset in this business that I don't know how much it's changed. I've heard people say with the Triple H era, it's been a little different. Triple H is a little bit nicer. Triple H got his own demons. We ain't even gonna go into all that. But it's just, there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about in this business, because it's taboo to reveal these secrets until they want Vince out. That's really what it was. It's the one thing that people are not gonna talk about. Vince has hidden so many things in the past that they swept under the rug. But the moment they wanted him out, nobody defended him, because they wanted him out, and he's gone, as he should have been. He should have been gone years ago.
The prevailing rumor is that Triple H and Steph were some of the main people distributing information in that situation.
Big Nick Khan, Big Nick Khan is the one behind. That's the architect. That's the architect there, buddy.
When he came back, they had a vote. They had a vote that was overruled, and there was 3 people that voted against him coming back. Take a wild fucking guess. Yeah, Scott, did you? So, for my thoughts, I like the first episode I really enjoyed, because I love hearing about that transitional period. Right, I know Scotland's really into that period as well. But like the 80 to 86, 87. and we got to dig into that a little bit, like stuff that we had never heard before about the loan that Vince Sr. gave him and how he was supposed to pay it back, and none of them thought that he could, and how actually Gorilla Monsoon didn't like him at first when he came in, and a bunch of stuff. I really found that part of it interesting. But after that, it just kind of became another, I don't know, story of like it's very much like have you ever seen the story of WrestleMania? Like that's a really good documentary. It's a good documentary that WWE put together. There's another documentary. It's like 50 years of WWE or something like that. It's actually the first thing I ever bought on Amazon Prime Video. So that's how old it is. But it's like that in that it's just kind of like the story of wrestling. So I guess you have to give context behind the things that Vince is discussing, but it's just not a ton of Vince and everybody else, and it's more like, oh, this is WrestleMania 3, and this is why we had Hulk Hogan go against Andre the Giant, and da 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 da. And I don't know, it wasn't that much. I don't know. I thought it was going to be more Vince heavy and more him talking and more. I guess you have to give context to the things that he's answering and talking about, but then make the thing shorter. Like these long ass episodes, and a lot of it's not really a lot of him talking. That's kind of where I'm at this point. I've heard the 6. I heard the last episode is the best one, and I haven't gotten there yet. So maybe it'll get better. I really enjoyed the first one. I really enjoyed hearing how Cyndi Lauper got hooked up with them and things like that. But the rest of it's kind of been a slog to me. What I will say is I had to chuckle at some of the accounts online, some of the bigger accounts. Man, there is nothing. You want to talk about Charlie Brown and the football. There is nothing like these historian news breaking accounts thinking that they're going to get something fucking different every fucking time one of these types of documentaries comes out, and then acting outraged when it's the same fucking thing that it is every single time. Right. I just said I was a little disappointed in it, but I wasn't, but my expectations I'm not outraged. I'm like, yeah, this is what it is. I would have liked some more Vince, but I'm not surprised by what this is. So I thought that was fucking funny. Like how at this point could you possibly talk yourself into believing that this was going to be anything else than what it already is? There were these rumors. Oh, it's such a burial. Come on. No, the fuck out of here. Of course it's not. Stop it. Scott, go ahead, man. What's your thoughts?
This documentary is perfect if you have no clue about wrestling, but you know who Vince McMahon is, and you know that he's going through a lawsuit. You know what I mean? I've been diving into more into my historian bag. So a lot of the stuff, like you said, that they broke down in the first episode, it wasn't new knowledge, but shout out to Cultaholic, because they have 2 excellent documentaries, one about the complete history of WWE, and they have one on the golden era of WWE. So that time frame, right? And I'm watching it, my historian brain is kicking in, because I'm like, damn, what if he had defaulted one payment and it went back to the shares? I'm thinking about stuff like that. But speaking of what True was saying, Vince McMahon, I'm in no way, shape, or form can ever humanize who that person is. I think there's certain things, if you look in the documentary, I finished it. There's certain things that you can kind of pinpoint that makes him the monster who he is, right? Obviously the childhood being how way he was being brought up, the abuse and everything like that. I genuinely think him beating the government in 94 gave him a sense of invisibility. Well, if the government can't touch me, that means I can do whatever I want, right? Because the abuse that happened to Rita Charlton, the first women's referee in WWE, that took place in 1986. So from 1986 to that time of the
trial, you know what I mean? That's about 8 years. So we have no idea what McMahon was doing in that time frame outside of, normal things. It's not a publicly traded company. You can keep things more on the hush hush, right? I think the most
telling thing the more telling thing in that documentary is his relationship with Shane and Stephanie. I think those are the two big things I took away. Everything else, like, you kind of already know from common knowledge. Like, same thing with y'all, like, reading. Like, I don't need to read the details of the lawsuit. I read it, stopped, because I can't deal with that. But when we were talking about Shane and Shane's, like, you could tell just Shane, all he wanted was, like, I love you, from his dad. Like, I'm proud of you. The same thing Vince wanted from his father.
From his dad, yeah.
But, like, the difference is that I think Vince just buried it inside of him. I'm not getting that. So, yeah, I think he even said, like, the first time his dad ever told him that he loved him was the day before he passed away.
Yeah, that is. They did say that, yeah.
It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy, right? But, you know what I mean? Like, those things shape you as a person. You know what I mean? You can go one or two ways.
Yep.
And when we talk about, like,
speaking from experience.
yeah, right. And then when you speak about Shane, and something that's not brought up a lot is that Shane is the one who told Vince about the Attitude Era. Like, the template of the Attitude Era, Shane presented that to Vince. I think he presented to him in the fall of 1996, early 1997, kind of when they're getting in that cusp. And Vince just flat out was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're doing it my way. In the documentary, they kind of made it seem like the transition was, like, seamless. No, for those that remember, 1996 WWF was fucking terrible, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before they transitioned to Raw's War. But I will say, I don't think there was a pivotal moment in the documentary of Shane talking to his kids before the Taker match. And you can clearly tell Shane is somebody that has done everything in his power to ensure that he is nothing like his father. Yeah. You can see a father loving his three sons. Yeah. So, it's from a historian standpoint, you're not going to learn nothing new if you already know the game. But if anything, you just learn that Vince McMahon is a sick human being.
I will say, I also did enjoy the episode that focused on the steroid trial.
Yeah,
but it was because I think that's the most insight we've really ever gotten into it from all the parties involved. For one, and for two, it was just hilarious to watch. Like, the government, they had no fucking idea what they were getting into. Like, no fucking idea. Like, these are the fucking liars. Like, you're really gonna put Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan is who you think you're gonna put up there? Like, you don't think he fucking worked your ass this whole time? You think that Hulk Hogan's not gonna go onto a stand and manipulate a group of 12 people into thinking what he wants them to think? That's fucking Hulk Hogan, man.
And it's
oh
funny,
my god,
it's funny you say that, because there's one part during that episode that, like, I don't think I've ever put into context before. And I can't remember who said it, but they were pretty much like, if they had went to the Ring Boy scandal, if they had went into the shit
anything
with
else,
Patterson, you know what I mean? Then
they could have got him.
They could have got him, but the fact
they
that
went
they
with this,
steroid, you know what I mean? Like, it is, once again, it's just like that pivot of history. Like, what if they had went to that? Would we even be talking about pro wrestling the way we talk about it? Probably not. But like I said, it's just like bad maneuvering from the government. So,
and what's funny is that, their point, like, it was easy to prove it wasn't true because it wasn't fucking true. Like, that's what I mean by, like, they had no idea what they were getting into, because that's just not the game. Like, no, he doesn't tell you have to take steroids. You just look at the guys who are getting pushed, and then you do it too. Like, he'll tell you need to look better. You need to be in better shape. You need to look stronger. You need to be bigger. but he would never say, not because he's even actively trying not to, you know what I'm saying? Like not trying to get around it. They don't fucking care. He took steroids. Everybody took, but that's what I mean. Like everyone took steroids. So it's not like, it's like going into a people, you know, back when weed was popular. It's a bunch of motherfuckers that smoke weed and you just pick one of them. You say, oh, you were making everybody else do it. Like they all did steroids. It's just how it went because that's how you got over it. That's how you got pushed. So it was easy to say he never told them to or gave it to him because he fucking didn't.
I just want to say
things did happen, but not that.
I just want to say you just reminded me of growing up and seeing those Dare commercials.
Yes.
And this is your brain on drugs, and they made weed like sound like crack and shit. They made weed sound like crack. I was like, damn, like
remember
like
when,
if you
remember when
like
Rob Van Dam and Sabu? Remember that? And it was like the biggest fucking scandal in the history of fucking Earth, and everybody would just laugh at that. What's funny is the steroid trial in general. Like I'd laugh at that now. Who gives a fuck if people were doing steroids? Like who fucking cares?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being the greatest baseball player that ever walked the face of this earth, apparently did steroids, but he also was a beast. He was a beast before he did, a beast before they had the fucking steroid. Like it's enhancements. People take
all the pictures he was hitting off of. All the pictures he was hitting off of were also taking steroids. So what are we doing?
I mean, if people want to get righteous about steroids, I'll just say if you watch AEW on a fairly regular basis, you see one of the biggest users of steroids in this current state of time. So much so as his hair gave it away too because
look, if people are fucking, as long as people are being responsible adults, I don't give a two flying fucks.
What you eat don't make me shit. That's all I can say.
As long as you're everyone out there who liked that Deadpool Wolverine movie, let me tell you something. pretty fucking obvious what was going on there with old Jackman. It was like 70. Couple of fellows who are not 70. We'll get to our main event. It's a discussion of main events. There was a bunch of I don't know. I didn't really understand why there was discourse, but this is because people are fucking dweebs. Discourse about this Bad Blood main event. People seemed insulted that it wouldn't be the Hell in the Cell match, possibly. But I just want to remind everybody, and this is not, I'm not saying this like I'm promoting the guy. I'm just stating facts. Roman Reigns, booking wise, is legitimately one of the top 5 professional wrestlers of all fucking time. So his first match back in the ring against an up and coming monster in Jacob Fatu, alongside the current world champion and biggest babyface of the company, as part of the biggest storyline that they've had in a decade, that's main event worthy. Obviously this pod, we fucking love Drew and Punk. We're fucking hyped about that cell match. I think it's going to actually live up to being a cell match for the first time in about a decade. But I would say putting the other match in the main event would also be a legitimate choice. I don't think either one of them's wrong. What about you there, True?
I just think if you got the Hell in the Cell and the logo of Bad Blood, and the whole history of Bad Blood is to be, headlined by Hell in the Cell every single other pay-per-view that Bad Blood has existed in, I don't really see the point of changing up the trajectory of your history. I get the Roman thing, but I mean, Punk is the number 1 merch seller. Punk is still, there too. The Drew and Punk feud has kind of carried Raw, in certain ways. I'd argue Bronson Reed and Bronn has been carrying it for me personally, but I think if you have a feud that's existed for 10 months straight without any breaks, without people taking long sabbaticals and going away, I don't see an issue with. I personally would start the show with Roman, Cody, Jacob, and so personally, because I think the crowd is going to be at its hottest. You're gonna have you can set it off with the main attraction for everybody that wants to come there will be Cody and Roman, and then the other main attractions are Punk and Drew. So I think if you wanted to do like WWE used to do with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-views and started off with the Hell in a Cell 2 to kind of set the tone. I just think it's going to be hard to live up to whatever violence and craziness they have planned for the Hell in a Cell match. And it's hard. And if they're getting bloody, I think it's really a disservice to the tag team match to have it go after a bloody Hell in a Cell match. That, once again, the Hell in a Cell on all of the logos that I've seen is in the back of Bad Blood. And Bad Blood is brought back. And this is 1997. You know, this is an ode to WWF 1997 with the Punk. I mean, Punk and Drew is like Brett, Shawn, Taker, with a little mix of it. That's a love letter to that whole 97 thing. I think it should main event. If it doesn't main event, I really could give a shit. I mean, I don't care. Like, it don't make a difference. I mean, it don't really matter. So if people get like super angry about it, I'm like, dude, it could be first, as long as it's not like in the middle of the card. I think that would be a disservice to it, you know, to have it in the middle of the card.
Yeah, I think whichever one of these doesn't main event should open, definitely.
Yeah, you know, like
with the people, yes. I will say though, I understand your concern, but when you really think about it, the people involved in that tag match, I'm not concerned about it living up to violence of the Hell in a Cell match, because you know Fatu is going to do some fucking crazy shit. You know Roman doesn't fuck around.
Yeah, you know how I feel about
crazy
Cody.
Shit that other people don't get to do. Like,
yeah, you know how I feel about Cody.
I think that match is probably going to be pretty fucking cracking, honestly. And you know what? The discourse, we know what it is. It's because people are begging in their minds there to be some problem with CM Punk. That's the people who are in there shitting on this, who are trying to get mad about this, is because they go to sleep every night wishing and praying that there would be a backstage issue with CM Punk. That's really what it's about. That's really what has these people, their cackles up, because I don't think that there is a problem. I think, like I said, either choice would be a logical choice. So I don't really think that there is any sort of backstage politicking or anger about this. I think
Punk would gladly open the show. I don't think Punk is not, he's never really been that guy outside of that last WWE run when he just wanted his WrestleMania main event. I mean, this is a guy who was champion for 434 days and he barely closed pay-per-views back then. And you know, he wasn't necessarily happy to do that, because I mean, he had to watch John Laurinaitis versus John Cena main event a pay-per-view where he was fighting against fucking Daniel Bryan and shit and Kane and shit. So I think I could get that. Match. Yeah, I could get that, you know, being mad about that. But if you're going before Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, then the longest story for 4 years, I don't think you're mad about that. You know, I don't think you're really mad about that. But people do want there to be static issue and all that stuff with Punk, and people are like trying to find ways. And it's just like, man, that IWC wrestling Twitter shit, it's just like, it doesn't need to be what it is. Like, everything is just, it's not that deep. That's all, you know, it's not that deep. And you're looking at two great matches. I think the Bad Blood card looks really good. You know, my only gripe is that they haven't added Gunther and Sami Zayn to it. I hope they do. I hope Triple H is not caught up on just making 5-match cards and, you know, can give an extra match or two. I would have loved to have seen Bianca. Bianca and Jade defending. I want to. Yeah, like, it's not gonna hurt you. I think that's the one thing I don't like about the new WWE business model is like they're trying to do less is more and stuff like that, because we're not. I mean, we're not paying for these. You know, we're not paying for these pay-per-views.
6 is perfect. You do your opening 3. You do your fucking weird promotional. Hey, this is what city we're in, and fucking they have a great downtown bistro district, and what the fuck ever shit they have to say. I don't know why they need to do that every time. You do all that shit in the middle. It gives everybody a little break. Go get their drink. Go get their seat. Take a piss, and then you do your last 3. It would be a perfect flow. I don't know why we're doing the 5 thing continuously. Scotty, thoughts on this main event Bad Blood situation? What do you think should main event? Do you believe the hype and any kind of bullshittery going on about shithousery going on about this?
Shithousery. Personally, I think Punk and McIntyre should main event. Just off of the strength that, like, this is Hell in a Cell, is Bad Blood. It may be just because I just got done watching the first Hell in a Cell match earlier today. So, like, you know, watching a classic. But I very like in like the grand scheme of things, like to say if they're doing a bloodline versus like Roman and Co. for War Games, like that main event's Survivor Series. I don't think there's going to be any like shenanigans in this tag team match outside of like maybe a little conflict if KO and Randy Orton appear. But that could absolutely open the show. Like y'all were saying, it sets the tone perfectly for a crowd that's going to be as hot as it's going to be. You know, you're in Atlanta, like they're going to turn up that entire pay-per-view. But then finishing with Punk and Drew, in my opinion, feud of the year. They've absolutely earned this spot. And like the last image of like, I think Punk's winning. The last image of Punk maybe on top of the cell, like getting like hype, getting the crowd going, and then you shoot off. That's a perfect ending to this pay-per-view. So I'm not on any of this bullshit about like what the IWC wants. Like you've already proven that you don't know what you're talking about. So I don't think Punk's gonna have a problem like with if he main events, if he opens the card. It's just one of those like who cares, right? Like I said, I completely forgot that there's a UFC card, and that's the reason why it's popping up at they're doing Bad Blood early. So I just say the perfect transition to going from violence to more violence would be Hell in a Cell, and then boom, you hop onto the UFC card and continue the bloodlust.
There we go. Scott, tell us about what you're working on right now. What are you guys doing over there at Black Guy Wrestling Pod? Tell us what some of the fire articles that you've put up recently for us, DAR Sports Media.
Yeah, of course. BGW, please go follow us, BGW Pod, across all platforms. Right now, we're gearing up for hitting 179 tomorrow night, obviously, whenever you're listening to this. It's finally starting the road to episode 200. So getting those things ready. We just introduced a new football podcast with Nolo and our guy Cheevers, Until the Final Whistle. Usually drops Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Like I said, I'm not a football guy, but Nolo, he's an expert on it. As far as the articles, obviously my debut article with DAR Sports and Media, the resurrection of Nigel McGuinness. Like I said, we even got the man himself to retweet, so that was a major return. The next article I'm working on is talking about Jada Parker and her it factor and what that it factor means in professional wrestling. So I'm very excited.
This is an all-time if I speak moment. So keep going.
And then man, just for myself, please go follow, if you like poetry, go follow me, Scotland_Underwood. We're tapping into getting to do more poetry events later on in the year. But other than that, just doing my Renaissance man thing. You'll see me on all platforms. I appreciate you guys for welcoming me on the team. It means the world.
Always. You're a weapon. You're an asset. God damn. We got Scotland. We got a bunch of articles going up on the Medium site. Of course, check out the page. Check out their football show. That's about the same time that our football show goes up every week. So you guys are fucking covered on your Wednesdays for your football coverage between us and Till the Final Whistle over there on the BGW.
And it sounds like another collaboration that might need to happen.
There you go. Nolo's good shit too. We had him on the other day, a couple weeks ago as well. We had a fun time.
Yeah.
Our football show, college football shows up. Interesting things going on right now as we record this. The college football land.
Yeah.
We had a real good, it's still relevant because the majority of our conversation about college football this past week was about the NIL situation and the progress of college football as a whole, because things are fucking happening. So still check that out. Even if you're listening to this on Sunday, Monday, still a relevant topic, more relevant than ever. Between the additions we're making to the team, football coverage, NBA season coming up. Damn. Now more than ever and more to come.
And before you say that, very important thing right now. Y'all about to get flooded with a lot of new music. Gotta put that out right now. But before the Revival 2 is out, that's really an appetizer. That was just my leftovers. You know what I'm saying? The leftovers from Soul Revival 6, leftovers from Time is of the Essence. I just reposted an article from 9 years ago with the Washington DC City paper. Featured myself and Apollo, where we were on headline talking about the Baltimore riots and everything that went down. And we were in the midst of a lot of that. And that was when we put out our first album as a collective. So now on October 10th, myself and Apollo putting out our next HS album, Time is of the Essence. And of course, November 11th, it's already finished, it's done, it's uploaded, it's ready to go. Soul Revival 6. I can only say I did a three album series on purpose with Before the Revival 2, Time is of the Essence, Soul Revival 6. Look at the last title and every single last song title on each of these albums. It tells a story. I am telling my own story. It's a personal story. And by the time both of those albums come out, my situation might look a little different. So as a result, I'm manifesting, as they say, manifesting through the art. And I'm really proud of these albums. Very personal. Soul Revival 6 is extremely personal. And if you are, I know, Scott, I know he's a little brother fan like me. I drew a lot of inspiration from my guy Fonte and a lot of other artists who get personal in their music. So make sure you check that out. I just want to make a quick segue into back to the Medium site really quick. I cannot thank everybody who has viewed the site this last month, because we are at 7 or 8 times our highest number in a month. And I don't know what's happened. I know we put out a lot of articles, but this has been our most successful month on the Medium site. And it just keeps, every time I look at the stats, it keeps going up and going up and going up. So a big thank you to Scotland for making his debut this month. A big thank you to my guy Tevin, Zachary, and of course, big thank you to myself, because I got a shit ton of articles that I posted as well. So make sure you check out Scotland's Nigel McGuinness article, which was shared by Nigel himself. Make sure you check out my and shout out to a couple of our listeners who mentioned this. Psycho Sid, obviously big deal. Did an article for him and Shawn Michaels, and Ahmed Johnson as well. Just went up for the New Generation series. A lot more coming. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting, because it means the world to us to have that support and that viewership. Now
hey, that's what it is.
Yes, sir.
As you can see, more than ever, music, articles, all sports, maybe some more stuff soon. Jey Uso, the world of DAR never stops.